increase access to clean cooking fuel, increase farmers' income, and expand biofuels adoption. The Global Biofuels Alliance.
Your Excellencies, we will now take a group photograph. Thank you, Excellencies, for launching the Global Biofuels Alliance. I would request all the media and officials to remain in the room while the leaders.
We're just now waiting for the second session of the day, the Global Biofuels Alliance. You can see the world leaders held together with a joint partnership vis-a-vis that. My colleague Pallavi was also mentioning how climate change and dealing with climate change becomes a very, very pressing issue before the G20, the group of 20 world leaders. And today we're looking at the session 2. This is right after the big announcement that has been made on the joint communique and contributing to energy security, strengthening circular economy, and also talking about how there needs to be a refraining from use of force or for territorial acquisition when it comes to the Russia-Ukraine crisis. All of that has been discussed. Now we're waiting for the Global Biofuels Alliance session to begin. Ahead of that, you can see that big photo opportunity with Prime Minister Narendra Modi representing India as a G20 president at the center of that. You can also see the Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina among other world leaders who are assembled for that global Biofuels Alliance. My colleagues Anand Narasimhan and Pallavi Ghosh continue to be with us on the broadcast. Anand, I would toss it to you. This has been a very, very important announcement by the G20 Sherpa and the External Affairs Minister and also the Finance Minister about a consensus that's been arrived at. There has been almost a declaration of 83 paragraphs, a lot of content there. Geopolitical conflict has been dealt with as far as the joint communique is concerned. This is a big day for the country.
Well, there are 8 paragraphs on people and also when that's what Amitabh Kant, where the Sherpa said with respect to geopolitics, there are 8 paras. But this is I'm going to read out the 2 operative paras and see how beautifully it's been worded. And that's why consensus has been arrived at. This is what the para says. Concerning the war in Ukraine, while recalling the discussion in Bali, we reiterated our national positions and resolutions adopted at the UN Security Council and the UN General Assembly, and the references have been made and understood and underscored that all states must act in a manner consistent with the purposes and principles of the UN Charter in its entirety. In line with the UN Charter, all states must refrain from the threat or use of force to seek territorial acquisition against the territorial integrity and sovereignty and political independence of any state. The use or threat of use of nuclear weapons is inadmissible. Reaffirming that the G20 is the premier forum for international economic cooperation and recognizing that while the G20 is not the platform to resolve geopolitical and security issues, we acknowledge that these issues can have significant consequences for the global economy. So this is how it's been worded. So everything that's been said and adopted in the UN, at the UNGA and at the UN Charter has been incorporated. They have underscored their respective positions. So that's been advised. That is the reason why consensus has come, because no country has been specifically named, but the intent is very clear that this is not the time of war. Also, there very clearly the credit being given by Bharat and the ministers, be it Subramaniam Jaishankar, the foreign minister, or the Sherpa Amitabh Kant, to the emerging nations, saying it's the emerging nations who played a pivotal role in getting the likes of Russia and China on board And we had already got an indication that America will be on board as far as this, the wording and the declaration is concerned, because we had Jake Sullivan say that it is being approached with an intent of compromise. So specifically naming Russia and China, and in this case has been deferred. So that's the come down or the climb down compromise made by the West. On the other hand, Russia and China not opposing the fact that the territorial acquisition, use of force, etc. has been underscored, and that threat of nuclear war is inadmissible. So these aspects have been underscored. So clearly, there has been efforts. There is a reason why there was a conversation that was had between Subramaniam Jaishankar and Foreign Minister Lavrov at the ASEAN East Asia Summit, and thereafter, even aside on the pull aside of the BRICS. Then, more importantly, the Turkey president, who's present here, Erdogan, he had made a trip to Moscow. So they have credited Turkey, they have credited Indonesia, they've credited nations, emerging nations, for playing a pivotal role in bringing consensus. And more importantly, all the 80 paragraphs, there is no addendum, there are no bylines, there are no footnotes, nothing. Everybody is on board on all parameters. 8 paragraphs out of 80 for geopolitics. So the remaining 72 are for the greater reason why the G20 came together in the first place. That's important.